Have you ever stood in an eyewear store, looked at a simple pair of plastic frames, and wondered, why does this cost $4, $5, even $600? We peel back the layers of the narratives you think you know to reveal the unsettling truths hidden beneath. These stories take months of research to uncover. If you believe they deserve to be told, consider subscribing to join our journey into the shadows of history. Today, we expose the secret that controls what you see and how much you pay for it. The story of Luxottica. It's just a pieces of molded plastic and a couple of lenses. You could buy a new smartphone for that price, a television, a plane ticket to another country. Yet, this small, seemingly simple object commands a price that feels illogical, disconnected from reality. You look around the store, you see dozens of brands: Ray-Ban, Oakley, Persol, Prada, Chanel, Versace. You think you have a choice. You think competition is driving the market. But what if I told you that choice was an illusion? That behind almost every famous brand name, behind the vast majority of storefronts, behind the very lenses that help you see the world, stands a single, shadowy entity, a silent empire that has engineered one of the most successful and invisible monopolies in modern history. This is murky history. We don't just tell stories. We conduct investigations. Every great empire has a compelling origin story, and Luxottica's is the stuff of legend. It's a story of triumph over adversity, a classic rags to riches tale that would make a perfect Hollywood movie. The protagonist is Leonardo Del Vecchio. Born in Milan in 1935, his life began in hardship. His father died before he was born, and his mother, unable to support him, sent him to an orphanage at the age of 7. By 14, he was working as an apprentice in a factory that made car parts and spectacle frames. It was here, amidst the grinding machinery and metallic dust, that a young Del Vecchio learned his craft. He absorbed every detail, every process, every nuance of manufacturing. He was not just a worker, he was a student of industry. In 1961, with a vision burning in his mind, Del Vecchio to Gordo, a small town in the heart of the Italian Alps. This town was the center of the Italian eyewear industry. Here, he founded Luxottica. Initially, the company was a small workshop, a contract manufacturer making parts and components for other, more established eyewear companies. But Del Vecchio was fiercely ambitious. He wasn't content making parts for others to assemble. He wanted to control the entire process. Within a decade, he had mastered manufacturing and made a pivotal decision. Luxottica would no longer be a supplier. It would produce its own, complete line of eyeglasses under the Luxottica brand. This was a bold move, but it paid off. Luxottica quickly gained a reputation for quality and Italian craftsmanship. The company grew steadily through the 70s and 80s, becoming a major player in the manufacturing space. Del Vecchio was hailed as a visionary, a testament to Italian ingenuity and entrepreneurial spirit. He had built a successful, respected manufacturing powerhouse from nothing. This is the official story, a story of hard work, quality, and organic growth. It's the story you'll find in glowing business profiles and inspirational articles. For decades, it seemed to be the whole truth. Luxottica was simply the best at making glasses. But in the mid-1990s, a crack appeared in this pristine narrative. It was a move that, at the time, seemed like a standard business expansion. But in hindsight, it was the first tremor of a seismic shift that would forever alter the industry. How much do you think a loaf of bread would cost? There would be no incentive to lower prices, no competitive pressure. LensCrafters, once a marketplace of competing brands, was now a private showroom for Luxottica products. This was the first, critical step in a meticulously executed plan. Del Vecchio wasn't just building a company anymore, he was building a fortress. And from within its walls, he was about to launch a series of strategic assaults that would bring the entire industry to its knees. The official story of the hard-working craftsman was over. The story of the corporate conqueror had just begun. In 1995, Luxottica, the manufacturer, did something unusual. It bought a retailer. Not just any retailer, but the largest optical retail chain in North America, LensCrafters. For $1.4 billion, Luxottica suddenly owned over 800 stores. On the surface, it's a strategy called vertical integration, owning both the means of production and the point of sale. It's not illegal. But in an industry like eyewear, it planted a dangerous seed. Before this, retailers like LensCrafters had the power. They could choose which brands to stock. They could play manufacturers off each other to get better prices for consumers. If Luxottica's frames were too expensive, LensCrafters could simply stock a competitor. But now, the manufacturer and the retailer were one and the same. The gatekeeper was now owned by the person wanting to get through the gate. Imagine a world where the company that grows the wheat also owns all the bakeries. With the acquisition of LensCrafters, Luxottica now had a powerful weapon, control over distribution. It was time to load the weapon and take aim at the most iconic brands in the world. The first thing Luxottica did was pull Ray-Ban from over 13,000 points of sale. They stopped selling them in gas stations. They took them out of the discount bins. Now, the loop was even tighter. Luxottica manufactured Ray-Bans in their Italian factories, then shipped them to their own retail stores, like LensCrafters and Sunglass Hut, to be sold to the public. They controlled the entire journey of the product, from a block of acetate to the display case. And what happened to the price of Ray-Bans? The classic Wayfarer, which once sold for around $30, was reintroduced as a premium, luxury item. The price skyrocketed, eventually settling in the $150 to $200 range we see today. Was it because the quality dramatically improved? While they did move production to Italy, the primary driver of the price increase wasn't a higher manufacturing cost, it was market control. They could charge whatever they wanted because they had eliminated the competition. They systematically starved the market of the product. Then, they brought the brand back, but only in high-end locations. Where, you ask, in places like Sunglass Hut. And who owns Sunglass Hut? Well, they didn't yet, but that was the next step. The first target was a name so synonymous with cool that it's practically a part of the American cultural lexicon, Ray-Ban. By the late 1990s, Ray-Ban, owned by Bausch & Lomb, was in trouble. The brand that had been on the faces of fighter pilots, movie stars, and presidents was now being sold in gas stations and convenience stores. The quality had slipped, the brand image was diluted, and it was losing its prestige. In 1999, Luxottica saw its opportunity. They swooped in and bought the brand for what now seems like a bargain, $640 million. And then, the genius or the ruthlessness of their strategy became clear. In 2001, Luxottica acquired Sunglass Hut, the dominant global retailer for premium sunglasses, for $653 million. With this model proven, Luxottica went on a shopping spree, acquiring or signing exclusive licensing deals with nearly every major fashion house you can think of. Prada, Chanel, Dolce & Gabbana, Versace, Burberry, Armani. A defiant, innovative company from California that refused to play by Luxottica's rules. Oakley, in a stunning display of power, Luxottica made a decision. They would drop Oakley from all of their stores. Imagine being a brand, even a powerful one, and suddenly losing access to thousands of major retail locations overnight, including the world's largest sunglass chain, Sunglass Hut. Oakley's sales took a massive hit. Their stock price plummeted, investors panicked, and just as the company was reeling, weakened and vulnerable, who came in with an offer to buy them? Leonardo Del Vecchio and Luxottica. Oakley was a powerhouse in its own right, famous for its high-performance sports eyewear and aggressive marketing. They were a direct competitor to Ray-Ban, and they had their own retail stores. They were a threat. The confrontation that followed is a master class in corporate hardball. When you buy a pair of $500 Chanel sunglasses, Chanel doesn't make them. Luxottica does. They design, manufacture, and distribute them. The fashion houses just lend their name and collect a royalty. Luxottica had become the silent, invisible force behind the entire luxury eyewear market. But there was one major, independent brand that stood in their way. In 2007, the relationship between the two giants soured. Oakley and Luxottica were in a pricing dispute. It was a hostile takeover, executed with brutal efficiency. After being kneecapped by Luxottica's retail dominance, Oakley had no choice but to accept the acquisition offer of $2.1 billion. It was a near monopoly, a corporate behemoth that controlled the physical product you wore on your face and the stores where you bought it. But there was still one crucial piece of the puzzle they didn't own: the lenses. The most technologically complex, medically necessary, and profitable part of the glasses. The world's largest manufacturer of spectacle frames was one company, and the world's largest manufacturer of lenses was another, a French company named Essilor. The biggest independent competitor was now part of the empire. But in the world of limitless corporate ambition, balance is temporary. The climax of this story, the moment the near monopoly became an undeniable, all-encompassing global power, arrived in 2018. The news sent shockwaves through the financial world. Luxottica and Essilor announced they were merging. The message to the rest of the industry was loud and clear: you are either with us, or you are against us. And if you are against us, we will crush you. The deep dive into their business practices revealed a pattern: acquired distribution, leveraged that distribution to weaken competitors, then acquired the weakened competitors at a discount. It was a cycle of consolidation, and with each rotation, Luxottica's power grew exponentially, while consumer choice and the consumer's wallet paid the price. For years, Luxottica's dominance over frames and retail was the story. If Luxottica controlled the fashion, Essilor controlled the function. They were giants in their own respective fields. For decades, they operated in a delicate balance. It wasn't just a merger. It was a fusion of the two most powerful forces in the entire optical industry. The new entity, named EssilorLuxottica, was valued at an eye-watering 50 billion euros. Let's pause to understand the terrifying totality of this new empire. EssilorLuxottica now manufactures a staggering number of the world's most famous frames, from Ray-Ban and Oakley to Chanel and Prada. They then place those frames in their own retail stores: Lens Crafters, Sunglass Hut, Pearl Vision, Target Optical, Sears Optical. Then, when you pick out your frame, they fit it with their own lenses, from brands like Verilux, Chrysal, and Transitions. They control the supply chain from start to finish. There is no escape. But the revelation gets even more profound, even more disturbing. There was one final frontier of control, one last element that could, in theory, keep their power in check: insurance. And it is a wholly owned subsidiary of Luxottica. Think about this for a moment. The company that makes the glasses, that owns the store where you buy the glasses, is also the company providing the insurance that is supposed to help you pay for those glasses. It is a completely closed loop, a self-contained ecosystem designed for one purpose: to maximize profit at every single step of the process. Vision insurance companies are supposed to act on behalf of the consumer, negotiating for lower prices on frames and services. So what did Luxottica do? They bought one of them. Or rather, they built one. Eim Vision Care. Most Americans have never heard of Eim, but it is the second largest vision insurance provider in the United States, covering over 60 million people. Leslie Stahl, in her landmark 60 Minutes report, confronted the CEO of Luxottica about this. She pointed out the inherent conflict of interest. She asked him why glasses are so expensive. His answer was a masterclass in corporate deflection, talking about research, development, and the complexity of the supply chain. It is the result of a decades-long, meticulously planned strategy to systematically eliminate competition and gain absolute control over an entire global industry. The victim is not another corporation. The victim is anyone who needs to see clearly. It's the parent buying their child's first pair of glasses. It's the elderly person who needs bifocals to read. It's the student who needs to see the board in the classroom. The climax of this story in a single event, but the chilling realization of the system that has been built around us, in plain sight, while we were all looking right through it. But the reality is much simpler. They are expensive because they can be. There is no significant competitive force to stop them. When you control manufacturing, licensing, retail, and insurance, you aren't participating in a market. You are the market. This is the ultimate revelation. The high price of your glasses in an accident of economics. It isn't just inflation or the cost of materials. So, what is the lasting legacy of this silent conquest? Why does a corporate story from decades past still matter so profoundly today? The answer is on your face. It's in your bank account. It's in a concept economists call the illusion of choice. Walk into any mall in the world. You'll see a Sunglass Hut on one corner and a LensCrafters down the hall. Maybe a Target Optical or a Pearl Vision in the same complex. You believe you're comparison shopping. You're moving between different stores, looking at different brands, seeking the best deal. But you are not. It's a case study in 21st century capitalism where vertical integration and consolidation are creating everything companies in nearly every sector. Think about the tech giants that own the hardware, the software, the app store, and the media platform. Think about food conglomerates that own the farms, the processing plants, the shipping, and the grocery brands. The Luxottica model provided a blueprint for how to achieve market dominance not through brute force, but through quiet, strategic acquisition and the control of distribution channels. You are, in most cases, simply walking between different rooms of the same house. The money from your purchase, whether you choose a Ray-Ban at Sunglass Hut or a Prada at LensCrafters, is funneled back to the same parent company, EssilorLuxottica. The brands themselves contribute to this illusion. You think Oakley is a rebellious, American sports brand and Persol a classic, Italian luxury brand. Their marketing, their designs, their target audiences are completely different, but their owner is the same. This curated diversity gives us the feeling of a vibrant, competitive marketplace, while the economic reality is that of a monopoly. It's a brilliantly executed stage play, and we, the consumers, are the audience, believing the fiction because it's presented so convincingly. The modern relevance of this story goes beyond just eyewear. This has a direct and tangible impact on innovation and small businesses. If you are a young, independent eyewear designer with a brilliant new idea, how do you compete? The very success and visibility of EssilorLuxottica S-Control has created an opening for a new wave of disruption, the rise of direct-to-consumer online brands. Most famously, Warby Parker is a direct reaction to the high prices and lack of choice in the traditional market. By cutting out the middleman, the retail stores that Luxottica owns, they can offer stylish frames at a fraction of the cost. Starting at around $95, they expose the massive price inflation that the monopoly had created. But even here, we must maintain perspective. In 2021, Warby Parker's revenue was around $540 million. That same year, EssilorLuxottica's revenue was over 21 billion euros. It is a David and Goliath scenario, and Goliath is still very much in control. You can't get your frames into the major retail stores because they are owned by your biggest competitor. You can't compete on price because EssilorLuxottica benefits from economies of scale that are impossible to match. Your only viable exit strategy, ironically, might be to become successful enough that EssilorLuxottica decides to buy you, absorbing your innovation into their empire and eliminating you as a threat. The system discourages true competition. However, the story is entirely without hope. Ultimately, the Luxottica story is a critical lesson in vigilance. It reminds us that monopolies don't always announce themselves with a mustache-swirling villain. They can be built quietly, legally, over decades, by a charismatic founder with a compelling story. They hide behind the illusion of choice and the complexity of corporate structures, and by the time we realize the full extent of their power, they have already reshaped our world, defined what we can buy, and decided for us what it is worth. We began our investigation with a simple question: why are glasses so expensive? We've journeyed from a small workshop in the Italian Alps, through hostile takeovers and strategic acquisitions, to the creation of a global entity that controls nearly every aspect of the eyewear you purchase. And subscribe to Murky History for more deep dives into the stories that shape our world. We've discovered that the price tag on your glasses is not a reflection of cost, but a reflection of control. The story of EssilorLuxottica is a stark reminder that the most powerful empires are often the ones we cannot see, even when they are sitting right in front of our eyes. The rise of this empire raises a fundamental, and perhaps unsettling, question. In an age of mass consolidation, where our choices are increasingly curated by a handful of unseen giants, what does it truly mean to be a free consumer? Are we making decisions, or are we simply choosing from a menu that has already been written for us? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this investigation valuable, please like this video, share it with someone who wears glasses,